So originally, I had something else completely different that I wanted to talk about this week, but then this happened. And now we have to talk about all this, right? So, very, very, very big news out of the amusement park industry world today. A merger between Six Flags and Cedar Fair. What does this mean, and why is everybody freaking out about it? So, I know that the initial thought of this is, oh no, Knott's Berry Farm is in trouble. I don't think that's the case. And I want to kind of try to ease everybody's mind as much as I can. I went through a couple of the slides from the PowerPoint presentation from the Amusement Insiders YouTube page. They listened in on the conference call and were able to grab some of the screenshots from the presentation. I want to kind of use those to illustrate what they talked about and hopefully try to enlighten some of us as to what the big picture is here and what the plans are for the future. Obviously, I want to focus mostly on the implications here to Knott's Berry Farm because that's kind of our home base. But this affects a much broader scale of theme parks. Obviously, with something like this, there's always going to be pros and cons. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of the cons out of the way to the best of my ability. And hopefully, this isn't enough to really dishearten a lot of people. Granted, I live in Southern California, so we have a lot of things to do here. And if we were to, say, lose a theme park and it was like one of the only ones around, that would be devastating. So hopefully this doesn't do too much to stick a knife in anybody's back. So first off, let's cover what this merger is actually doing. They combined all the properties into one conglomerate, so to say, giving each company essentially half of the shares that are owned by both stocks. What this does is this mainly allows the two companies that were starting to kind of lose money. It allows them to combine and hopefully get out of a lot of that debt that they were starting to accrue. The main idea here is to try to break even and move forward from there. So what do these companies have to offer each other? Well, we all know that Six Flags is like the world leader in thrill rides. And because of that, they have world-class technology to build thrill coasters. Cedar Fair now has that technology. So maybe we get into this a little later, but there's a possibility that maybe we do get that Giga that was hinted a couple of years ago sooner rather than later. I know a lot of people were griping about Knott's Berry Farm possibly turning into some rundown shantytown version of Six Flags Magic Mountain. I don't think that's going to be the case. And while I understand your concerns are justified, don't get me wrong, your concerns are very justified, I don't think that's going to happen here. So now, let me just kind of give you a rundown of what's happening here. So now that both of these companies have a combined portfolio of 27 parks, 15 water parks, 9 hotels and resort properties, 7 campgrounds, 2 safaris or animal experiences, 2 sports facilities, and 3 marinas. That's a lot of properties that this one company now owns, and it's a very diversified amount of entertainment. That's good, right? That's going to help increase revenue for both halves. So here's some of the bullet points that they kind of went over during the meeting as well. They said the enhanced footprint and increased diversification of the portfolio is bringing together 2 iconic businesses to create an expanded portfolio of 42 parks, 9 resorts across North America. Complementary geographic footprints enhance diversification and reduce dependency on any single park or geography, mitigating weather risk. We all know that there are a lot of parks that Cedar Fair owns that are not year-round experiences. Being in Southern California, we don't really understand that. So this makes sense to Cedar Fair to a point that a lot of their parks, even the one, Great America up in Northern California, is not a year-round park. It closes, it's seasonal. So a lot of parks around the country are treated essentially like water parks, to where they're only open for maybe the spring and the summer and part of the fall, and then they shut down for the winter because weather does not allow for these parks to be operated. So what this is doing now is Cedar Fair has a lot of properties up north that they just cannot run. Six Flags, I mean, they've got properties everywhere, including a ton down south below the Mason-Dixon line that allows these parks to be open year-round. Parks in, say, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Phoenix, and Southern California. So now Six Flags and Cedar Fair, most notably, has the option to have more parks running year round. So that's just more revenue for them at a more steady stream. The other thing that a lot of people are freaking out about is they think that a lot of these parks are just going to basically change names or throw the Six Flags name on top of something. Six Flags Carowinds, Six Flags Dorney Park, or Cedar Fair Magic Mountain, or something like that. Six Flags Knott's Berry Farm. I don't think that's the case here. I don't think they're going to rebrand a park that's been around for a long time. I think the plan here is to basically keep the parks that make the cut, essentially, and leave them alone. Also, keep in mind, Cedar Fair ended up getting 51.2% of this, and Six Flags got 48.8%. So Cedar Fair has majority control here, and this isn't a Six Flags takeover. So try to move past that mindset. That's not what happened here. If you look the leadership and the governance, it's going to be almost an even split across the board. Salem's still going to be the executive chairman, CEO Richard Zimmerman, CFO Brad Withrow. And then if you look, it says board will consist of 12 directors, 6 nominated by Six Flags, 6 nominated by Cedar Fair. So this is an even split. Cedar Fair is not turning into Six Flags and vice versa. That's not going to happen. I think we're going to be okay. Another thing that was mentioned in the meeting is basically they're going to use Six Flags coaster technology and Cedar Fair's guest orientation. And I think that's a good thing, because I think we're really going to be getting the best of both worlds. There are Cedar Fair parks that do use a lot of updated technology. There are a lot of rides that, say, Carowinds and Dorney Park have that, and Cedar Point, we'll say, that have Cedar Fair's top-notch tech. Now add in, say, a Wonder Woman style ride, or Tatsu or X2 or something cool like that. Can you imagine seeing something like that at Knott's Berry Farm? That'd be ridiculous. And I know Knott's doesn't have a huge footprint to add stuff like this, but I think this might be an opportunity to explore outside the box. And this also probably is why they've left Montezuma's Revenge alone for so long, because they probably wanted to get this taken care of first. Another thing that this is going to do is this gives an expanded IP portfolio to develop engaging new attractions and in-parks offerings. A lot of people compare Knott's Berry Farm to Disneyland. It's not the same thing, but having this expanded portfolio now kind of gives Knott's Berry Farm that option to be similar-esque. I don't think we're going to see DC superheroes running around underneath the arcade, underneath Knott's Berry Tales. I don't think we're going to see the Looney Tunes mingling with the Peanuts gang. I don't think that's the case. However, if there were opportunities to expand the park's footprint and maybe add some new lands, maybe some sort of DC universe in there and some sort of Looney Tunes land, maybe what this also does is this gives them an opportunity to have IPs for more dark rides at Knott's Berry Farm, which I firmly believe that Knott's Berry Farm desperately needs. They need something. They have the mine ride, they have the log ride. Those are technically two of their dark rides, and Berry Tales, I guess, is considered a dark ride, but they don't have any true Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, or even Peter Pan's Flight, something like that. Can you imagine putting 2 dark rides somewhere in that park, and then adding that B&M Hyper that we were supposed to get? Just those 3 attractions. I know that's asking a lot. Where would they go? We'll talk about that in the future. Those 3 attractions immediately enhances the park. This merger could be the first step to doing something like that, because now they have the opportunity to not just do 2 Peanuts gang dark rides or something like that. Now they have something to rival Marvel, if done right. Another thing that people are sort of up in the air about is whether their passes are going to be affected by this. Now, I know that they mentioned that this is just the beginning of this transaction, and I don't think it's going to be even within the next year that this is going to be an issue. If we look at the timeline for when this is supposed to take place, the path to completion, this is the merger expected to close in the first half of 2024 following receipt of Six Flags shareholder approval, regulatory approvals, and satisfaction of other customary closing conditions. So there's still a few things that they have to do before the completion of this transaction, and it looks like they're expecting to get it closed probably by May or June. I think the second quarter ends in what, July or August or something like that. So they're looking to get that done by mid next year. So next year our passage won't be affected. We're not going to have some sort of like get into, buy a Cedar Fair, buy a Knott's annual pass and get into Magic Mountain for free or anything like that. What they've also said is under enhanced guest value proposition right here, it says it can combine complementary operating capabilities to create a more robust operating platform for improved park offerings and efficient system-wide performance. We all know Knott's app is not the greatest. It gets by for what it is, but as far as like trying to find park wait times or maybe seeing if the park's busy or not, it's not the best for that sort of thing. Maybe the merger with Six Flags will help that. I don't know much about Six Flags web development or anything. I know their app it's better as far as knowing the wait times and stuff for a lot of those rides, knowing which rides are open or closed. It's a little bit more up to date than Knott's is. So maybe that will help improve the app that way. This is probably going to make mobile ordering a little bit more of a prominent thing in Knott's Berry Farm. I don't think you can do mobile ordering anywhere in Knott's Berry Farm. I've never actually tried it. Oof.
This is embarrassing.
But I don't think you can do mobile ordering. So maybe this will implement that technology into the app where you can do mobile ordering. Knott's is very proud of their food. That's one of their big selling points is their menu, their seasonal menu. And mobile ordering, I think, will kind of help with that if they can find ways to get mobile ordering access to like some of those seasonal kiosks during Boysenberry Festival and Merry Farm and stuff like that would help to speed up the process of having to wait in line. Like there's times where, like Fireman's Grill, there's 8 people in line. It can take 25 minutes to get up to that window. So I don't know, maybe this helps to kind of get that part of the park up to speed. There's a lot in this merger that has to do with, from my understanding, has to do with absolving of debt, getting rid of a lot of the debt. And I'm hoping that what it means is it's going to allow the companies to almost break even a little faster and be able to use a net worth to create better park experiences. I think this has the potential to almost expedite the process of being in the green, essentially, and being able to make decisions park-wise without having to take into account that you are constantly having to borrow. It says significant free cash flow generation and enhanced financial flexibility. Cash flow profile and strong balance sheet create flexibility to increase in-park investments, to grow attendance, increase per capita spending, and improve profitability, all while enhancing the guest experience across the park portfolio. There you have it. So they want to increase guest experience. They want to bring new things to us. What happens to Knott's? Who knows? Anyway, before my rambling gets completely out of control, I think this merger is a good thing when all is said and done. Again, I completely understand why people would be upset, why people would be in panic mode, but I think it's going to be okay. We just need to look at this and say, look, this happened, so where do we go from here? I'm very excited for what can happen at Knott's Berry Farm, and I hope you are too. Let's try not to look at what could possibly go bad here as far as guest service and food quality and things like that. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Knott's is an outlier in this entire thing. Knott's isn't a traditional theme park. I know it's not what it once was when the Knott family owned it, but I see it almost like a national landmark in which they have to tread lightly with the changes that they want to make. Accelerator is testing. They've moved forward on that finally. This is exciting news. What do you think? Are we in trouble? Is there something going on here that I'm not seeing that I need to have explained to me? Let me know, please. Let's talk.